This will be fun, because I know how this video ends.
Winning at the Paris Olympics was a massive high. My dedication and determination had paid off. I'd done the hard bit, or so I thought. There was a subtle undertone that ran through my 2025 season that exploded at the end of it.
Now I'm looking back with clarity, I can see all of the signs were there. It's always so much easier with hindsight, but sport's just raw. You're harnessing strengths which you've acquired over decades and decades of work. And now when my biggest strength is just being turned into my biggest weakness, it can be really difficult. And I'm in this incredible training facility and I'm just here not able to climb.
Training at the end of 2024 was almost non-existent, just to give my body a rest. And early in 2025 was different to previous years, easier and with a lot less pressure. However, I've always tried to ensure strong and resilient shoulders, and I focused on some targeted gains. Before the season began, I spent 4 weeks in Tokyo, one of my favorite places in the world and a place I've been so many times before. The problem with Tokyo is when I'm not there, I just have a constant burning desire to get back there. It's pretty much like a magnet that just pulls me in. However, when I'm in Tokyo, it always just beats me up, in every sense, and this trip was definitely no different. There is a sports massage chain called Dr. Stretch, which on this trip I integrated into my training and pretty much became a local. I've made 4 trips to Japan so far, and each time I feel like I've escaped exposed and beaten, yet also inspired by the ferocious level, culture and people. It's just such a great place to be. This trip was no different, with the exception of stopping in at the China World Cups on the way home, just to get my ass kicked. I skipped the next World Cups in Indonesia, Curitiba and Salt Lake City to rest, recover and train. It felt much needed. At the Prague World Cup, after a disappointing qualification round, I sneaked into the semi-finals in 20th place. I felt powerless on boulder 1, and although this boulder only had 1 top, I was experiencing things I've never felt before. I just felt powerless and weak. A slow zone on boulder 2 only left me a single attempt at the top. And poor execution with time for only 1 attempt was another frustrating boulder. On boulder 3, I knew the beater but couldn't pull through to execute it. At this level, the setters don't let you cheat boulders very often, and my futile attempts were left unrewarded. Boulder 4 compounded the miserable experience again feeling just a lack of power. The aftermath of the Prague World Cup was an Instagram post that captured how I felt mentally, and I couldn't be more grateful for the response to that post. I really appreciate everyone who reached out to me and sent me a message. This community is amazing. Climbing is a choice, to have fun and problem solve. That's just what I love about it. But when competing at the top level, the lines start to get a bit blurred. I was vulnerable and shared it, and the response was just absolutely amazing. Thank you everyone. Next up was burn, and my personal challenge here was just to enjoy it, whatever happened. My climbing left a lot to be desired, and my result here ended with 51st. This was the perfect test, possibly my worst result ever. I'm really not saying I enjoyed it, but I definitely handled it well and felt stronger at the end of it. And the season moved on to Innsbruck. There's always something special about Innsbruck, somewhere I've trained so much in the past. The condensed schedule that includes the Boulder and Lead World Cup is incredibly demanding. It also offers glimpses of how hard it will be to compete in 2 disciplines at the LA Olympics. Before the Paris Olympics in 2024, we used the back-to-back Innsbruck World Cups as a test, and I managed to come 4th in boulder and 3rd in lead. This was almost identical to my Olympic results across both disciplines, and ultimately the form that won me the Paris gold medal. Boulder qualies were okay. I found them to be more about execution within 5 minutes, and the level of the boulders was slightly lower than in previous World Cups, and I progressed to semis in 5th place. Semis was a very low top round, where zones were a lot easier to come by than tops, and 1 top and 3 zones was enough to squeak me into finals. The first boulder was a technical slab, one which I managed to top in the dying seconds. It was almost instantly enough for finals, which was lucky because I didn't make progress on boulder 2, a coordination boulder, or boulder 3, a power boulder. By boulder 4, I only needed to get a zone to get into finals, which I made very hard work of. It's obviously nice to make any finals, but it wouldn't mask the observations my team would make. Boulders 2, 3 and 4 were all topped, with Doyen Lee, Surato Anraku and Mejdi Shauk establishing themselves in the top 3 spots. These 3 would later claim the boulder podium at the World Champs in South Korea. I may have been in finals, but I wasn't necessarily competitive. Any World Cup final was special, even more so in Innsbruck. Luckily for me, boulder 1 was slightly overcooked because I definitely wasn't very close. Boulder 2 included a lot of body tension. Probably one of my specialities, where the rollover move offered an aggressive undercut. However, I couldn't land the last move that required a combination of coordination and power. Boulder 3 was a tricky slab, which I was very happy to flash, probably one of my best comp moments. And Boulder 4 required a combination of good mobility to simplify the powerful move and a relatively disgusting mono match to avoid the intended beta. I won and was obviously elated. The adrenaline would also see me through the lead competition because deep down I knew something wasn't right. Powerful moves were eluding me, and ultimately I was only able to win when everything fell in my favour. The absolute best competitors can win when nothing goes in their favour. After Boulder 2, I was also now managing a forearm strain and internally came up with a tactic of deciding not to warm up for my lead route to reduce the mileage. Thinking back now, it sounds pretty crazy. This also aligned with our previous knowledge that back-to-back World Cups are physically demanding, probably a lot more than anyone realises, which is why dual disciplines at the LA Olympics will be a near impossible challenge. Before and during the lead isolations, we were seeking physio support, and without a physio in attendance with us, options were very limited. Isolations are a funny place. If you've decided to compete, you almost decide not to show any weakness. My coaches knew something was wrong, but not quite enough to convince me not to compete. When I'm there, I just have a burning desire to give everything that I can. The only aim with qualies was to put myself into semis. I guess that's always the aim of qualies, but this time it felt a little different. And I just about managed to squeak my way in an average place. I also knew this was way below my current level. In semi-finals, I used everything I had to both sustain my forearms with massages and minimal warm-up. As well as using my experience and executing as well as I could to ultimately qualify for finals in second place. I was grateful for an undercooked finals route that I fell my way up along with 4 others to finish second overall. This final route was about as marginal as it gets. I know what it's like to feel good in a route, and this wasn't it. A forearm strain was likely to be the reason I wasn't climbing or feeling like myself. Whilst at the same time, I was leaving with a gold and silver medal, dictating that I'd actually had an incredible comp, and I managed to improve 50 places on my burn result. My forearm strain seemed to both disappear quickly and also linger. I never quite knew what I was going to get. It certainly didn't feel enough to keep me from competing, and I headed to the incredible Chamonix World Cup. We managed to find a really good sports massage therapist in Chamonix who was helping with my forearms and general recovery during the comp. Whilst I got 2 tops in qualies, I again didn't necessarily feel amazing. In semis, it was the other way around. I felt amazing and was convinced I was going to top the route. Only to lose a toe hook and my comp was over. I left Chamonix confused at my form, but with a quick opportunity to make amends in Madrid 4 days later. Where ultimately, I didn't have the power for a testing move over the head wall. I've spent most of my life pumped out of my mind. It's my favourite place to be. My forearm is ready to explode. But this was something different and I couldn't explain it. However, with a mid-season break, it was a combination of rest and training to prepare for Copa and the World Championships. Copa was another Innsbruck-like experience. I was fooling my way up the route, not feeling like myself. Where I used to be able to attack and knew I was stronger than the route, everything was now marginal and felt like I was getting diminishing returns. It was another comp where I utilised some physio support on my forearms and left with a medal that again just seemed to mask things. And then it was on to the World Champs. What should have been the highlight of the season was the opposite. And in league qualies, my forearms just turned to stone. This wasn't pump, it was the opposite. It's just like my forearms weren't activated at all. Physio and sports massage didn't show any issues, and I reset for boulder and the impending end of the season. This whole World Championships boulder experience was similar to the Innsbruck World Cup earlier in the year, but with a more logical outcome.
Topping the boulder one slab in World Championships felt pretty incredible, and it was times like this which I kind of realised that there were small signs there which was giving me hope and kind of showing me that maybe things weren't so bad, and that was also maybe even sabotaging me. Like moments like that was like, oh, I'm okay, I'm feeling good, I just topped this slab, I was the only top, like it's great. But in the long run, I look back and if I was constantly getting shut down, I probably would have realised much quicker that there was something wrong. The rest of the qualification round, I topped boulders which I kind of would expect myself to top, but powerful moves were completely eluding me. I just felt totally out of my depth. In the semis, it was a similar story of most of the boulders. except one boulder, and that was boulder 3. By this point in the round, I was like, okay, this isn't going great. I'm not feeling too good. I've not topped the first 2. But I came out and this boulder was like properly my style, like low gear, dragging, shoulders near your ears, having to grind it out. And I was like, I'm not leaving these mats without getting a top. And I put in some work on that boulder. And I left and I knew I hadn't made finals, but I topped that boulder and that left me like feeling proper psyched. I took the 2 weeks off and was chilling on a beach, but to be honest, it didn't necessarily feel like I could properly relax. There was this thing going around in the back of my mind going, I know something's not right. I know that I might struggle when I get back. And it was just the constant uncertainty of not knowing what was wrong with me, essentially, which sounds really dramatic, but in my mind, it felt like a bit of a crisis. So I was trying to relax, but also with this burning sensation going, you might not be okay. By the end of the 2 weeks, I was starting to feel better and I was really psyched to get back, get into training, see how I feel. Which was exciting. It's nice to be like really hungry for it again. But when I got back, it was very much downhill from there. My first session, the moment I started, I pulled on the fingerboard doing my usual warm-up and I knew something wasn't right, like absolutely just not right. Instantly, my forearms, I like to think of it like they just exploded, but I was closing my hand and my fingers were just locking, like no control over them whatsoever. It was sat there tingling. It's almost like if you have a fish and then you go to cook it and you see it having like all these weird spasms where the muscles are just still like twitching. It kind of felt like that. And I tried to push through the session, not push through it, but I tried to like just warm up through it. And the more I climbed, the worse it got. And I think for the first time in my life, I've had to call a session short and go, right, this just simply isn't responsible to keep climbing. And it was then where the uncertainty really was starting to play on my mind. And I was like, okay, I've got to try and do something about this and see what's wrong. And from then on begun probably what was the worst 10 weeks of my life. An initial physio appointment pointed towards what's called thoracic outlet syndrome, which is compression of the nerves going through the neck and the first rib and then down into the arms. I was definitely relieved coming out of that physio appointment, but also a bit like uncertain and nervous. I've always thought that I don't mind what's wrong with me, whether it's a broken ankle, broken finger, as long as I know what's wrong with me and I know there's a clear rehab plan. But what was strange about this is it's a weird injury, like thoracic outlet syndrome. It sounds strange, and nerves, I've heard stories in the past, it can feel unpredictable. So I was definitely relieved, but I was kind of bracing for impact, and it's like, what is going to happen? So I started doing everything I could to get myself back up to full fitness, and 4 weeks after that physio appointment, I was like, wow, what is going on? Like this is pretty bad. Thinking back to it now, some of my symptoms were really quite frightening. I'd say I had just a tension headache for a month straight, and when you have that sort of thing, it just starts to drive you crazy. It's like, what is going on? As well as some slightly more unnerving symptoms, like I was doing my gym sessions and if I strained too hard, then I would get a sharp headache in the back of my head and things which is like, what's going on? Do I need to get more scans? Do I need to see if this is something else? And it was difficult. It sounds a bit dramatic, but it was probably the toughest time in my career mentally. I was having all of these thoughts go around in my head. I was thinking, I've got the season coming up, I've done all of this in the past, there's pressure, expectation, I've got goals in my head that I want to reach, and I'm like, this is just gonna totally send me off the rails. Climbing is not only just what I do, it's like my whole sanity. It's like everything I've done in my life is revolved around being the best climber I can be, and when you suddenly take that away, it's like, oh gosh, what am I gonna do now? But I'm definitely not one, I'm not one to like feel sorry for myself. I want to like do everything that I can to get better. So I was in the gym like 6 days a week, trying to work on everything that I could to get back to full health. And a lot of what could have caused my injury was imbalance. My shoulders were massively overdeveloped compared to my neck, which could have been causing a whole load of issues up there. So I started a lot on like neck strengthening exercises, and you name it. If it could help me in my climbing in the future, I was doing it. I had a whole S&C program. I was working my legs, like push, pull, doing like a proper like gym bro routine, trying to maximize my like muscular gains. And I was enjoying it. Like I was trying to make the most of it, but also in the back of my head, I was like, gosh, I really just want to start climbing again. This is really, really getting hard. And with the season approaching, it's like, I just want to get back to it. So it was definitely a difficult time in my life. And unfortunately, that was just the beginning. From that point on, the amount of scans, ultrasounds, MRIs, doctor's appointments, physio appointments, you name it, you name any machine, I've probably been in it. It's ridiculous. You can think of the nature of the injury where my forearm's getting aggravated, but it could be happening from the thoracic outlet, the neck, the forearms could be aggravated, the elbows could be aggravated. So I had scans just everywhere. And what was found after all of these appointments and scans was I had what's called a double crush injury. So the nerve is getting aggravated up in the thoracic outlet. And then I have what's called bilateral ulnar nerve neuropathy, which is in the elbows, like inflammation and ulnar nerve sensitivity. So it was again getting hindered at the elbow, and then my forearms were just taking the toll of it all, which was, it was definitely nice to know that I had a clearer picture of what was wrong with me. But the getting to this point was pretty rough. Yeah, all of that essentially working together. I can give you a very quick word to summarize that, and it's very. The amount of pins and things, I think they must have stuck like 50 or something pins in my forearm. Just, I don't know what's going on. I'm not a doctor, but it all links up to a machine, and they have readings, which kind of gives you a picture of how the nerves, like how the nerve's doing. And it was, I think there was something like 30% reduced function through the elbows. So that was something new, which I didn't know before. So if you imagine it's getting hindered up in the thoracic outlet, and then again there's like a 30% reduction or something in the elbows, and then the forearms were just basically getting destroyed. But it was quite a while. And then I think back to it, it's like a few weeks before that, I was literally dangling on a rope in the World Championship, going, what is going on with my forearms? And I remember when I think back to it, there's so many signs which is like, this is not right. I was going around the World Championship scared to shake people's hands because I couldn't squeeze properly without my forearms cramping. And to think that I was in there pushing through these ridiculous problems in the warm-up, going, what is going on? I feel like I'm destroyed and I haven't even pulled on the wall. It's quite wild. I think what was strange about this injury is that it was never really acute pain, which I was getting. It was more sensations and cramps and these weird kind of niche symptoms. So at every single stage, me and my coaching team and physios felt like we were doing the absolute right thing and trying to be as diligent as possible. But I think it was just the nature of the injury and how like unusual it was, which made it so difficult. This has been a massive learning opportunity for me as well, because I've always just been so good at just pushing through pain, pushing through anything, and it's just like what I do. Like when I train, I like to just try and train to the death, and it's normally the people around me who are trying to pull me out of that and kind of calm me down a bit, which I'm massively grateful for like all my whole team around me, who's like really helped me in these last few months. But it's been a massive learning opportunity for me to know more about my body. So now when I come into training, I can go, okay, you're not being a hero, you're not being clever pushing through your body and training past the point of what's good for you. You're just being stupid. So it's really been useful for me to learn that. And I didn't just want to put a brave face on it. So I decided, I love making these videos, but I decided it was going to be best to basically just try and sort these issues out, and then get to next year, just really start focusing on like myself mentally, get myself into the best like shape health-wise, and yeah, just try and really enjoy the next season, because I just absolutely love training, competing, content. I love being around people in the World Cups. But yeah, I just didn't want to just sit here and put a brave face on and say it was all okay. I'm just incredibly psyched just to really tackle the next thing. And I can now say I'm in a much healthier place. I'm really looking forward to it, and yeah, it's just another challenge. That's what it is. That's why I love climbing, is because it always presents itself as a new challenge. And this is just another little blip in that process, but I'm psyched to give it everything I got. I'm really happy to have been able to like get to this point where I'm now on the up, and hopefully from here on out it's going to be a good time.